Man, this was the real game changer, the cognitive revolution. Humans started doing something no other creature could pull off, using their imagination. They began telling wild stories, dreaming up things that didn't even exist yet. Sitting around campfires, they shared legends, laughed, and taught the young ones what they'd learned. That flickering firelight became their classroom, and language was their superpower. Once their minds opened up, the creativity never stopped. They started crafting tools with purpose, sharper spears for hunting, bone needles to sew hides, even little boats to chase the horizon. They didn't just survive anymore. They planned, they dreamed, they built. And before long, these folks were ready to take on the next big adventure, spreading across the whole planet. So picture this. Tens of thousands of years ago, our ancestors were on the move. They'd spent ages surviving the wild plains of Africa, but now they were ready to explore. Nobody told them to go. They just did. Driven by curiosity, hunger, and the need to survive, they started walking. Across scorching deserts, through thick forests, and over frozen mountain ranges, step by step, generation after generation. By around 50,000 years ago, humans had already reached Asia and even made it all the way down to Australia. That's right. With nothing but wooden rafts and a lot of courage, they crossed open seas. Imagine that kind of spirit. And then, around 40,000 years ago, they pushed into Europe, rugged, cold, and home to another kind of human, the Neanderthals. These folks weren't just cavemen like cartoons make them out to be. Nah, they were strong, smart, and built tough for the Ice Age. They had fire, tools, and even art. For a long time, both species, Neanderthals and modern humans, shared the same lands. Sometimes they fought, sometimes they traded, and sometimes they fell in love. Yeah, seriously. When scientists checked our DNA, they found that many of us still carry a tiny piece of Neanderthal code inside us. Proof that our ancestors mixed. It's wild to think that we're not just one straight line of evolution, but a tangled family tree with deep roots and ancient branches. So next time you look in the mirror, remember, you carry the stories of explorers, survivors, and dreamers who once walked across an untamed planet. They didn't just make history, they were history. About 12,000 years ago, humanity hit a game changer. After millions of years of hunting and wandering, people finally figured out something huge. They could grow their own food. No more chasing herds across endless plains or hoping the next valley had fruit trees. Someone, somewhere, dropped a few seeds into the dirt and watched them grow. That tiny moment flipped the entire story of humankind. People started planting wheat and barley in the Fertile Crescent, taming wild goats and sheep, and building little camps that turned into the first villages. Places like Mesopotamia, the Indus Valley, and the Nile Basin became the world's first hot spots of civilization. Humans weren't just surviving anymore. They were planning, building, and owning their future. And when you're not running from predators or chasing dinner every day, you finally get something new. Time to chill around the fire, talk about ideas, craft better tools, and dream up new ways to make life easier. That's when people started experimenting. Hey, what if we build bigger homes? What if we store food for winter? What if we trade with the next village? These simple thoughts sparked everything that followed: trade, towns, governments, even art and music. Farming gave us stability, and stability gave us imagination. Humanity went from cave life to community life, from hunters to homeowners, from gatherers to growers. The world was changing fast, and those early farmers probably had no clue they'd just launched the first big revolution in human history, the agricultural revolution, the one that turned wild wanderers into the architects of civilization. Man, it's wild when you think about it. Not too long ago, humans were just trying to make it through the day, hunting, gathering, doing whatever it took to survive. But somewhere along the line, we started thinking bigger. We stopped chasing food and started growing it. Villages popped up, then towns, and before long, whole civilizations started flexing. We built stuff that still blows our minds today. Giant pyramids out in Egypt, massive ziggurats rising out of the Sumerian desert, and stone cities spreading across ancient China. For the first time, humans weren't just surviving. We were creating. We learned how to put thoughts into symbols, scratching stories into clay, and carving history into stone. That's when writing showed up. Boom, and everything changed. Now ideas could travel farther than our voices ever could. Knowledge stopped dying with the storyteller. It started spreading like wildfire. We built governments to keep order, religion to find meaning, and laws to make sense of the chaos we'd built. People started organizing, planning, trading, the whole deal. The planet wasn't just a home anymore, it was a project. And just like that, the world flipped. The age of prehistory, gone. Now it was the age of history, of invention, of human ambition gone turbo. Think about it. We went from hunting in the wild to building cities that touched the sky. From sleeping under stars to stacking stone blocks, so tall they scraped the clouds. From wandering tribes to master builders, dreamers, and thinkers. The journey of the first man on Earth didn't just change the world. It became the world. Every city, every story, every beat of modern life started with those first footsteps and that spark of curiosity that made us human in the first place. Look around you, skyscrapers slicing through the clouds, cars humming down neon streets, satellites buzzing over our heads. We talk to each other through glowing screens, we explore the stars, and we've built cities that never sleep. But beneath all that noise and light, there's still something ancient beating in our chests, a rhythm that started long before Wi-Fi and space shuttles. It's the echo of those first footsteps across the warm African soil. We're the children of Lucy, the descendants of Homo erectus, the dreamers of Homo sapiens. Every heartbeat, every breath, every dream we chase, it's all connected to that spark that flickered millions of years ago, when a creature stood upright for the first time and looked at the horizon, wondering what was out there. From the flicker of a campfire to the glow of city lights, from stone tools to smartphones, from caves to skyscrapers, we've come a long way. But the truth is, we're still explorers, still curious, still reaching out. And when we look up at the night sky, at the same stars that our ancestors saw from the plains of Africa, we're reminded that the story isn't over. Humanity's journey isn't a history book collecting dust. It's still unfolding, right now with us. Because somewhere deep inside, the same fire burns, the one that lit up the first torch, sparked the first idea, and pushed us to ask, what's next? So, as we shoot for the stars, remember, we're made of the same stardust that formed this planet, the same dust that built Lucy's bones, the same atoms that fuel the sun. Yeah, we live in a high-tech world now, but our story began with bare feet on wild earth. And that story, our story, is still being written. From those first lonely footsteps on the warm African plains, humanity kept moving forward, one discovery, one dream at a time. Generations passed, tools became machines, and fire turned into light that could touch the sky. And before we knew it, the children of Lucy were building cities that reached the clouds. You know, even after we covered the planet with cities, lights, and screens, we still kept looking up. That same spark that once pushed us out of the caves, across mountains, and over oceans. Yeah, it's still burning inside us. We've always been the curious kind, never satisfied, always a skin. What's next? So while we're sitting here with smartphones in our hands and rockets in the sky, deep down we know this ain't the finish line. We're explorers by design, wired to reach further, dream bigger, and chase the unknown. From the first fire we lit to the first starship we launch, it's all the same story, our story. And maybe, someday, when we step onto another world and look back at Earth glowing blue in the dark, we'll realize we never really stopped evolving. We just took the next step. And now, as we look up at the stars, we're just chasing the same spark that kicked this whole thing off millions of years ago on a little blue rock called Earth. From dust to DNA, from campfires to city lights, it's all the same story. We're travelers, dreamers, survivors, still reaching for the unknown, carrying that ancient fire inside us.